Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, in this session, we are going to discuss about Sharia governance. So, why do we need the Sharia governance? Yeah? So, the philosophical foundation of corporate governance in Islam requires an additional layer of governance specifically for the purpose of ensuring the Sharia compliance within the banking operations and services. So with this aspiration, the corporate governance of Islamic financial institutions needs a set of institutional arrangements to oversee the Sharia compliance aspect of their business and operations, whereby in the absence of a specific Sharia compliance aspect of their business and operations, the Sharia governance system would be lacking, especially in ensuring that the business are operated within the purview of Sharia. That's why the Sharia governance system was introduced in order to complement, to support or to enhance the existing corporate governance framework in the Islamic financial institutions. So when we mention this, so the Sharia governance system, which is within the Islamic financial system, is a peculiar, exclusive, and unique to the corporate governance framework of the IFI compared to the conventional financial institutions. Therefore, as one of the most essential components of corporate governance in Islamic financial institutions, in addition to the board of directors, is the institutionalization of the Sharia board. So, Sharia board plays essential roles in the aspect of Sharia supervision, Sharia monitoring, Sharia auditing, and also issuing legal rulings related to the Sharia. And due to the tremendous growth within the Islamic financial sector, not only in Malaysia but also in the global level. So the complexity of duty and responsibility of the Sharia board toward different stakeholders. So that's why it is important to ensure that the Sharia governance system within the IFI is sound and proper. And the Sharia governance system enhances and strengthens the function of the Sharia board and its related institutions for the purpose of Sharia compliance. So, with the aim of providing an overview of the Sharia governance system, so we are going to discuss several important subtopic within this discussion, which is on the conceptual framework of Sharia governance, the functions of Sharia governance system. Then we are going to discuss into the role of a Sharia board, the available international standard setting agencies within the scope of Sharia governance. And then we are going to look into the processes of Sharia governance. And last but not least, we are going to also discuss the issues related to the Sharia governance. So before the issuance of Islamic Financial Services Board guiding principles on Sharia governance system, there was no formal and proper definition of Sharia governance system. So the IFSB is actually playing important roles in issuing the guiding principles on Sharia governance system, which is IFSB 10 guiding principles. So in this guiding principles, so IFSB actually has defines what is actually the meaning of Sharia governance systems. So accordingly, the Sharia governance system can be referred to as a set of institutional and organizational arrangements through which the Islamic financial institutions ensure that there is an effective independent oversight of on Sharia compliance over the issuance. So in term of um, uh, so in term of defining the meaning of governance system, Sharia governance system. So the IFSB defines that the Sharia governance system can be referred to a set of institutional and organizational arrangements through which IFI ensures that there is an effective independent oversight of Sharia compliance over the issuance of relevant Sharia pronouncement, a dissemination of information, and also an internal Sharia compliance review. Yeah? So this is what we have already discussed in the earlier or highlighted in the earlier part of the this session. So that is the definition on Sharia governance system. Yeah? And most importantly, the definition can be divided into several essential components. The first one is the nature of the Sharia governance system should be in the form of a set of institutional and organizational arrangements. Yeah. So this can be referred to as the Sharia board and its related institutions, such as internal audit department, the Sharia division. So what is actually the mechanics or the support department uh, that is going to ensure the oversight of Sharia compliance, yeah, within the Islamic financial institutions. Secondly, um, the essential components within the Sharia governance system is an effective independent oversight of the Sharia compliance. Yeah. So this indicates the aims and objective of the Sharia governance system to provide an effective and efficient mechanism for the purpose of Sharia compliance. And last but not least is the Sharia pronouncement and dissemination of information and internal Sharia compliance review. Yeah. So this process involves the overall Sharia governance that covers the pre and post aspects of the Sharia compliance, especially in the product offerings. So it should ensure that the pre discussion or pre decision made by the Sharia board is also observed in the post product approval. So that is very important so that the practices of the Islamic financial institutions are actually according to the resolution and decision which has been decided by the Sharia board. In addition to the IFSB, we can also see that the Sharia board has been defined by the IOFI, which is the Auditing and Accounting Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. Yeah. The IOFI also have defines the Sharia governance in its Sharia governance standard number 1, the IOP defines Sharia board as an independent body entrusted with the duty of the directing, reviewing and supervising the activities of Islamic financial institutions for the purpose of Sharia compliance. In addition to that, the Sharia board issues legal rulings pertaining to Islamic banking and finance. Yeah. So these are the two um, functions. It's actually a functions of defining the functions of the Sharia board within the Islamic financial institutions. Yeah. So this, if we see, this is quite a similar definition given by the IFSB Guiding Principle 10, where it also refers Sharia governance to or Sharia board to a body that comprises of a panel of Sharia scholars who provide Sharia expertise and acting as special advisors to the institutions, which is the Islamic financial institutions. Yeah? So in order for the Sharia board to carry out this duty, so the Sharia board needs a clear framework and also a proper structure in ensuring that the Sharia board could discharge its roles effectively, particularly in the aspect of related to independency of the Sharia board, and also whether the rulings made by the Sharia board have a binding force on the Islamic financial institutions, also on the objectivity of the discussion and also the decision derived by the Sharia board, and also the mandate given by the Islamic financial institution to the Sharia board, whether it is a full mandate or only a partial mandate. So that is also defines whether the Sharia governance system is effective or not effective. So on this basis, any formal or informal arrangement as to how the Sharia board is directed, managed, governed, and controlled for the purpose of Sharia compliance also part of the Sharia governance system. Yeah? So we can see when we define the Sharia governance system, it's actually a full set of how the Sharia board should play its roles towards ensuring the Sharia compliance within the Islamic financial system. This includes the roles of the Sharia board and the structure of the Sharia board, and then how the Sharia board is being managed and is being controlled. Yeah, so that is quite important. In ensuring that the Sharia governance system or the framework of the Sharia governance within the IFI is adequately put into place. Yeah? So Sharia governance is a unique kind of governance in financial architecture, and it is concerned with the religious aspect of the overall activities of the IFI. And if we can see the institutional arrangement in Sharia governance system, whereby in the typical financial institutions we can see in terms of the governance, so they have the board of directors, and then in terms of control functions they have the internal auditor and or external auditor. Then in terms of compliance, yeah, so the typical financial institution should comply with the regulatory and financial compliance. So they have to appoint officers or unit or department to observe the adherence or compliance with the regulatory requirements. Yeah. However, in the case of Islamic financial institutions, so there are several functions which are unique and exclusive to the Islamic financial institutions, whereby in addition to having a board of director, so IFI should also have the Sharia board to advise and to give opinion and decision direction on matters related to the Sharia compliance. And then they also have in terms of control function, in addition to the internal audit or external audit, they also have internal or external Sharia review unit, which normally will oversee the post aspects of Sharia compliance, the observance of Sharia compliance, especially in the uh, practices, business and operations of the Islamic financial institutions. And also in terms of compliance, so in addition to the normal compliance which oversee the regulatory requirement, so the IFI also have the internal Sharia compliance unit, which will oversee also the matters related to the regulatory requirement within the Islamic financial institutions. So with regards to that, we can see that the scope of governance, scope of Sharia governance framework within the Islamic financial institutions, it should covers the ex ante ataupun pre aspects of Sharia compliance and also a post aspect of Sharia compliance, where the former, which is the pre aspects, refers to issuance of Sharia rulings and the dissemination of Sharia related information, while the latter refers, the post aspect is actually referring to the periodic and annual internal Sharia review process. Yeah? So we can see here there are two parts, uh, which is the first is the pre aspects. Or if you can see an example of it is a pre product approval. So decision has been made by the Sharia board, and then we should see whether how the process of dissemination and issuance of the Sharia rulings by the Sharia board. That is the pre aspect of pre-product approval. And then when the product has been launched, been offered by the Islamic financial institution, and then come uh, the function or the rules of the post aspect of the products itself, whereby in this case the post product issuance, so it requires a periodic and annual internal Sharia review process. Yeah? So if we can see from this diagram, this illustrates the scope of Sharia governance system in two phases, which is the pre and also the post. Yeah, the pre is actually from uh, here up to the number 6, yeah, from number 1 to number 6. So these all are the scope which fall under the pre aspect of pre-approval of some things, yeah, of something related to the business and operations of the Sharia board. And then afterwards, number 7 and number 8 is actually the post aspect of a products approval ataupun any business and operations of the IFI after the practice, yeah, after the utilization of the products or services. So then it comes number 7 and number 8, which is the post processes, or related to the scope of the governance, the Sharia governance. Yeah. So if you can see from number 1 to number 8, it actually covers the overall process which are important within the IFI when the IFI would like to issue a new products or a new business or a new activities. Yeah. In this case, it is related. The diagram discuss about the product issuance of a new products. It comes primarily with the product initiative, and then the preliminary Sharia analysis. After the structure of the products had been discussed and approved by the Sharia board, then it comes the legal documentation and also the detailed product proposals. Yeah, and then afterwards is related. It's come the function of reviewing the documents whether it is in compliance with the Sharia or not, and then afterwards then come with the Sharia rulings, yeah, the Sharia board will issue the Sharia rulings. And then number 6, it comes to the dissemination of the Sharia rulings. Yeah. So this in this number 6, and number 6, it comes the function of the Sharia division or Sharia department to assist the Sharia board in dissemination of the rulings which has been made. Yeah. And then in number 7 and number 8 is the function of the internal audit and also the internal Sharia compliance unit. Yeah. So that's how the overall scope of governance in general, but in practice, it may be different from, the detailed process might be different from one institutions to another. So that is the first part, which is related to the scope of, related to the conceptual framework of Sharia governance system, which should be practices by the Islamic financial institutions, especially in ensuring the products and services offered by the Islamic financial institution is Sharia compliance. Thank you very much. We are going to continue with the second session in the second video. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.